Okay,
Okay.
welcome back everyone to our podcast. I'm here with David, Pepe, and Mariana. We're talking again about open banking and fintech and the successes that can come out of it. Today we've got a slightly different format. We've had a look at a couple of case studies. Today we're going to do some lightning rounds of use cases. So we'll look at some popular or emerging use cases in open banking, and I'll get your opinions on all of them. Let's see how many we can get through in the next 20 minutes. So first of all, ICICI Bank from India, they've got a service they've worked with Decentro, who are using their APIs to create a sort of open banking, core banking solution, which then Decentro is making available for payments for merchants and others. So doing all of that sort of stuff. That's sort of a very popular at the moment, that sort of banking as a service approach, with ICICI as the back infrastructure, and then Decentro building on top of that, and then offering to clients. How challenging a business case is that to get up and going in a bank, Pepe?
Okay, thanks, Mark. Well, it's challenging because you need a full stack of offering. Okay, it doesn't work if you have just one API, but in reality, it's a use case that the banks are looking forward. Like one of the main challenge of open banking or the finance is like to onboard so many companies, and when you get through one of these aggregators, like the Decentro could be, it's much easier. You just need to integrate your APIs in that company, and that one has already a list of customers, companies already linked. So it's a way of really in one go approach so many companies, and this is something that banks are looking forward.
So then does that mean, is there less, okay, there's the work of getting all of those APIs and that API portfolio, and I'm sure David's got some opinions on how complex that is. But if you've got all of those and then you're working with Decentro, are you pushing I guess you're pushing some of the risk as far as all of that onboarding work? Decentro has to look after that now.
Well, that's true, but in the end, banks are ultimately responsible because we are the ones providing the business.
Right.
So any company that is using the Decentro will have to also pass through the examination from the bank. Okay, you can really do business with any customer of the Decentro if you don't really rely or have the warranty that company is.
So it's not
legal.
Okay, cool. So it's not about moving the risk. It's more just about the speed of the onboarding of a whole range of, because now Decentro is saying there's thousands of retailers on their marketplace and all of that, which is much faster than a bank could do.
Exactly. One bank can take 1 year between a non-disclosure agreement and then I sign, I don't sign, I don't need, this department stops. So it's a matter of how fast this kind of company like Decentro can onboard a lot of SMEs or companies, and then it's doing a lot of the work from your side. It's taking it.
Okay, cool. David, so then you'd need a full API portfolio. What's the workload involved in having the technology in place for this sort of offer?
One of the main points here is to be able to build API products on top of your core banking systems. So API governance is key here, and also help the customers for the other banks to integrate within your API products. So putting in place an integration office or something like that, helping the integrators to use the APIs is key also developer experience.
Right, and then then also, I know you're one of the industry experts on API governance. There's an API governance question here as well, because if you've got a whole bunch of APIs that you're releasing for Decentro to use, you're going to want to have them standardized in some way. Is that right?
Yeah, of course. As long as you are building an API ecosystem on top of or a digital ecosystem, sorry, on top of your APIs, being able to manage those APIs are key. And API governance framework is what really does this. To define the standards, but also the definition, also to make compliance mandatory.
So what's in it for Decentro, or what's in it for end customers out of this sort of use case?
Yeah, well, this is interesting because the company just moved from being a payments aggregator to offer lending, no? So this obviously helps to increase your its customer base. They move from they increase at a rate of 40%. So that in a short time. So this really represents like a revenue growth and customer acquisition. So that's a clear benefit that we see there. Also, Decentro uses the bank APIs to build their platforms, their platform which is used by marketplaces, and customers can find in those marketplaces these kind of services, which is loans and also other services like identity verification. Right. So it is amazing how these marketplaces are growing in terms of services that are offered through them, and that makes the customers, the users of these services, much our lives more easier, no?
Right. And then even when I look at the Decentro website, I mean, it's a really nice design as well. It's not the sort of design we see coming out of a lot of banks. So I imagine there's a heavier lift for banks to be able to get that sort of funky, groovy looking design, isn't it? So mortgages is something that everyone's taught, that we come back to quite often when you're thinking about use cases. But we've got a couple of examples. Standard Charters has an approach that works with cybernetics to create some lead generation for mortgages, and then ABN Amro out of Denmark and Sweden and Scandinavian countries, they've got it's Property Guru and DBS have worked together to get a mortgage loan application. Giving away the next use case example from ABN Amro. So with that one, with mortgages, what are the sort of use cases? Again, is this something banks are like, when you say mortgage API or something to assist with mortgages, do your bank colleagues go, oh, tell me more about that?
Yes, that's true. This is one of the hot topics, because you need to understand that in the products of the bank, those that bear risk are the fan favorite, because they are the ones that you can really get a profit from the product you are selling. Is much better, for example, than payments. In payments, it's not so obvious how you will get the fee or how big will it be, but for loans or mortgages, okay, you are lending money and you are getting something back, which is the interest. So this is really one of the cases that all banks are trying to create in APIs. But now we have two separate choices. One was the lead generator, and the other was the mortgage. So the lead generator is easier, is calculator. So you just create a calculator with some rules, and with those rules you can estimate if you may be able to give a mortgage to that person or not, and in what conditions. Okay, and that is, I will say, is not a risky API. So that's a no-brainer, and most of the banks start for the calculator. So you can calculate, but if you want to apply for the loan or for the mortgage, you have to go to the bank's premises, even is the web, for example, okay, or the bank's app. And that's the easy one. The other one is more complex. Okay, give a mortgage full digitalized through API is also one of the dreams of every bank. We are working on that, but first, for each one of the countries you want to implement that, you need to do a lot of work. Okay, that API is not so easy, because you need to make sure that the person at the other side is who they say they are, right? So there's a security problem. Usually you will have to comply with also country security measures, which make the process not so smooth. Okay, sometimes even some countries, for example, in South America, you can have it even online. Directly, you need to break the process, and you need to have a face-to-face like moment or signing face-to-face. So it's not so easy, but we are working in several countries to get that API done. So I can tell that the loans, mortgage, of course, is really welcome. Or they are really welcome for the banks.
And so if there was a bank that was wanting to get started down that avenue, then the risk calculator would be where to start. That sort of that sort of leads generator that you talked about is
Yeah, because also it creates the demand.
You're demonstrating this is what you can look at all of these leads we're getting through our API.
Yeah. And also mortgage is a big product. Okay, a small loan, a BNPL is easier to have it online, but for a mortgage, people understand that they may need to go to the bank side to finalize it. So it gives you some room for improvement and some room for building the API, a robust and good API. So you have some time, but of course, I think lead generator is really a good way to start.
When you're thinking about the tech stack for that sort of work, David, how handy is it to think, okay, yes, we're building the lead generator now, but later we're going to try to get to that loan application or something. Do you need to think about that future, or you can just build the lead generator?
I think that this is not a matter of APIs. Okay, APIs here are important, but I think that are more important the backend services you have behind the APIs. If your processes are not supporting that kind of connection disconnection scheme, your APIs also won't. So APIs, we have mentioned this a couple of times. APIs is the central point of exposure or consumption information, but you have to build something behind the APIs. You will need a good data architecture, data governance, and many other IT systems.
Yeah. I've worked with banks where they've had to first clean up their data model in order to be able to offer leasing. And as soon as they knew they had to clean up their data model, they were like, oh.
Yeah, but not
they didn't bother building the API.
Yeah, but not only that, if you want to use APIs to streamline your processes, you will have processes to streamline. You will need it, so it's not more, the focus here, I think, is not only on the APIs, but something behind them.
Okay, yeah, great insight, thanks. And then Mariana, so what's in it for the organizations that the banks are working with, the end customers?
This is talking about now customer experience and knowing that mortgage processes are lengthy, and as Jose Luis was saying, you have to go to the bank sometimes in many cases, various times. So these kind of solutions try to automate their workflows, and in this case, for example, customers, based on their financial movements, they can find the right loan for them, the right mortgage for them online, which is already improving the customer experience, right? So so we're talking that people can achieve a long-term goal, like, for example, buying a house, in a much more or a better experience.
Yeah. What about then? That makes me think. What about something as like a appointment making API or something? So in those markets where you do need to make an appointment and come into the office, would that be part of, like, your mortgage API? The functionalities you might include.
I think definitely yes. Nobody wants to go to the bank and stay there forever until someone asks you to or attend you. So I think that the more processes of the whole process are automated, that will definitely be much better to the clients. And talking from the organization's perspective, this represents definitely process efficiency, operational efficiencies as well. So they don't have to base their work on papers that normally or sometimes lead to mistakes and all that. So overall, the process is more efficient.
Fantastic. Then let's finish with one final use case. This one, again, it's a bit of a hot topic. It's a bit like mortgages. In the last 6 months or so, we've seen an increase in sort of car and automotive type APIs being announced by banks. This is one where ABN Amro sends payment information to car dealers so they know where the payments are in process and can then either hand over the keys or do whatever they need to do. How is this a no-brainer? How easy is this for banks? Are you seeing that as well? I'm seeing in the global data there is an uptake in automotive use cases at the moment.
Well, in reality, this is one of our best sold APIs in BBVA. Actually, this is we call it reconciliation. Okay, but in reality, what we are doing is digitalizing part of the processes of the SMEs or companies, because they need some information to, for example, send the product that has been sold or to send a request. So they really need this information. Up to now, they have to log in different systems to check manually or even go to the bank to try to find out if they got a payment. And our API of reconciliation does the same as in this case of Brokeheus, I think it's like that, right? Or I don't know how to say it, right? Sorry. But what we do is like sending the account movements real time to their system. Okay, so they really do have them. And also we have one step further, which is a notifications API. So we can even send a push notification saying, okay, this payment has been received. So they don't even need to go to their own system. And that will even make it faster for them to understand when they have to do the next or perform the next action for them. So it's a way of digitalizing the way they work, and is really well accepted. We have a lot of demand.
Wow, fantastic. Do you see, and this is, but you see it across a range of industries. Here it's just been applied to car dealerships as an example.
Yes. But we have a request from every single industry. So I mean, we have to bear in mind that SMEs have been underserved for banks, and if you begin to serve them directly with APIs, it's really a win-win situation, because they suddenly they are digitalized, which is what they want, but also they are digitalized real time. And I have seen some use cases of SMEs, not BBVA, but I have read. Sometimes I read, and they were saying that they save like 2 days and a half of a manager doing manual work of sending payments or verifying a file for payments before sending, and that's all because of these reconciliation APIs. So I think this is one of those. I mean, it's not really inclusion, but it's really something that was a depth from the banking, which was the SMEs, and these guys have been underserved for so long. So that's why it's a hit, in any industry, in fact.
Yeah. Okay, great. So really strong use case there. David, then what about from the small businesses perspective? How much work is involved? If it's a good quality, I guess it's about the quality of the API, as far as how much it makes it easy for the small businesses to integrate. But the small businesses are looking for APIs to integrate into their systems and workflows?
Yeah, it depends on the company. I think that this is a very good example of how to generate value around an API. This is not about a transaction, but it's about how to use APIs to get information from different sources to reconcile that information. And for SMEs, what means is that they have available information in real time. So that's really great. So in such a scenario, having good information in order to integrate those APIs in their processes is key. Once again, governance, API marketplaces, developer experience are very important here.
Right. And but a big win, if you invest in that as the bank API, then provider, then you're going to see some results.
For sure. Think what Pepe mentioned. You are saving 2.5 days from a manager of doing something by a click. Okay, not just a click. You have to integrate your APIs in your processes, but it will be more cheaper.
Yeah. Great. Mariana, what's the benefits for the retailers, for the small businesses, for customers?
Yeah. In this case, and talking a little bit similar to the previous case, the expedite processes are always better for everybody, no? Yeah. And obviously knowing that there are no mistakes. Why? Because everything is automated now. So in this case, the staff of the company, they don't have to lose much time. They get the payment information and they don't have to go through systems checking all the sales of the whole company or the customers' information. They just go directly to the piece that they are interested in, so they can move forward with the process, no, with the car delivery and everything that has to go after the payment is received. So speed is something important now for both organizations and the clients, no? And speaking about SMEs, for example, one of the biggest pain points of the SMEs is cash flow management. So having this reconciliation and this type of solutions will help a lot to the SMEs to tackle that pain point. That's
a really good point. I also like what you were saying earlier, just about the the seamlessness, or improving that. It made me think it reflects well on the SME. If they know that, if they're getting an instant notification saying the payment's been made, they can phone that customer and say your car's ready or whatever, and immediately the customer is like, wow, this is a great retail. I'm glad I'm working with them. They're telling me, it's only been 2 days or whatever it is, since I ordered the car, or whatever. So it reflects better on them.
I think that customer experience is being definitely one of the factors that triggers better customer loyalty, no?
Right.
And of course, customer acquisition and all that.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. I think that was fantastic. We got 4 use cases that we're seeing. I know mortgages is a hot topic. We heard reconciliations is one of your table stakes for your API portfolio if you're from a bank. And then we talked about, some of the moves into the banking as a service play, which maybe is a bit further down the track because you've got to build out all of your APIs, but there's a lot of opportunity there. Interesting discussion. Thank you, everyone. Any final words on use cases with APIs? What use cases are you looking forward to hearing about next?
Embedded finance could be also great.
Sorry, what sort of finance?
Embedded finance for embedding payments.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Nice examples.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think that we will start seeing more use cases with different type of data now that open finance is becoming a reality in many regions. No.
Yeah.
So we will see use cases with pensions, with investments, insurance. So yeah, it's becoming more interesting, the offering.
I would like to add also some efficiency APIs, which is not really with a customer, but then it really helps to streamline processes. And it could be from the government institutions, or it could be from utilities companies. And that's also one of the one use of the APIs that is overlooked. more often than ever. Okay, so I think we have so many use cases to bring to the table,
Yeah.
and also if we get opinion from other people, we'll be glad to apply.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for a great discussion. Cheers. See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.